Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Greenskins and Warriors of Chaos here on our new map, Wurrzag Stomping Grounds. It is one of the new Total Tavern map pack maps. Certainly enjoy it quite a bit. We do have the two lined up objectives if you want to kind of play a lane pushing playstyle, and of course if you just want to brawl in the middle and have some fun, you have objective 2 over here as well. Now, it's going to be myself, like I said, on the Greenskins, Subutai on the Warriors of Chaos here, and in the most recent patch, the Greenskins did receive a pretty substantial nerf. But it was kind of needed because the entire Greenskin roster in terms of a competitive sense was really centered around Wurrzag and Bonewood Staff and just having a super wide army, right? So you go with Orc Boys, Squigs, and just go super wide with like the cheapest, most cost-effective units you could, and then just use the Bonewood Staff, which is his item that made it so whenever you cast a spell, your entire army gets a buff. And it was super powerful, right? Even the Greenskin Orc Boys and Squigs, their melee attack was in the 40s, and they were really crumping pretty good. But honestly, it was super boring, and none of the other playstyles for the Greenskins were really competitively viable, which was a shame. So what they did is they actually nerfed Wurrzag's Bonewood Staff. It's no longer map-wide, and they gave cost reductions to a bunch of their infantry. So Orc Biggins are cheaper, Black Orcs are cheaper, and there have been a couple other cost reductions as well. So I'm actually really excited to kind of dive back into the Greenskins now that their playstyle can be a little bit more diversified and isn't just going to be Wurrzag and wide army spam every single game. Now, Wurrzag still probably is going to be decent. He's a caster, he has a snare, his AoE buff still isn't terrible in blob fights, but he's not going to be as oppressive as he was before. But for my build, it's going to be a big experiment. We got the Orc Biggins in the front, which I believe got 100 gold off. They're quite a bit cheaper. It's either 50 or 100 gold. So we got two of them, backed up by the double Giants. And Giants have always been pretty cost effective for their price point, especially against factions that don't really have good missiles. Like Chaos does have Horsemen, which can drag them down, but usually it's more of a grind. Like the Giants will generally at least pay for themselves or come close, and they can do some work bashing Chaos characters. We got Swamp Fangs in the back. Swamp Fangs are not a bad unit. They, of course, do have a nice AoE debuff, so if you're going for this kind of blob playstyle of using Giants and Grimgore, they will lower melee attack by 6. They also cause terror, which is great, and have okay combat stats and apply poison. Hag in the back, it's going to be a Deathcaster with Buna and Spirit Leech. I think that the Hag is quite necessary here. If you're going to be going with Grimgore, you got to bring a caster, and the Hag Witches are just great fighters, good magic usage, regeneration, what's not to love. Now, for Subutai's army, it's fairly standard stuff. Nothing really avant-garde over here. It's going to be Marauders backed up by Armored Chaos Trolls, and Armored Chaos Trolls are great. They're going to be somewhat resilient against most of my infantry units. The Biggins will do some work with their anti-large bonus, but the fact that these trolls rock 110 armor makes them very resilient, especially with Festus healing too. It gets really nasty. I love the Aspiring Champion pick. I think Aspiring Champions are really raid boss to take down, and they also do magic damage, so if the Greenskins bring in any sort of Savage Orc units, right, that magic damage is going to be relevant. So very tanky Chaos army. Chaff-centric front line with Marauders, of course, but the Aspiring Champions and the Armored Chaos Trolls are going to be doing the heavy lifting in tandem with the old Severed Claw here. So Severed Claw is great. These guys are just one of the best units in their roster. I still think probably the best unit. Severed Claw is just crazy. They fight to the bitter end. They don't really have any, like, I mean, Black Orcs in theory could maybe counter them, but Black Orcs would then be countered by Festus. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one for sure. So my first call in here on Objective 2 is going to be some skirmishers, and I saw that Subutai was moving towards Objective 2 here, so I figured that the brawling would be taking place on Objective 2. So I'm happy to take a center brawl, considering I went with like an SE build. I got the two Giants. I do have Grimgore as well as the Hag, all sorts of good stuff like that. So we're going to be taking that brawl here, and you can see the Hellstriders trying to chase us down, but the Goblin Archer is able to kite them effectively. They have 100 speed, the Goblins do have 92, so with proper micro, you should be able to kind of keep your distance until you, of course, get forced into the corner of the map. Collins for the Warriors of Chaos. Marauders are sitting on the far side objective, and I think they haven't called in anything any big yet. What they're probably going to be doing is the Mutalith Vortex Beast. That thing is super scary and honestly counters most of the Greenskin roster if you don't have good shooting, right? And my build doesn't have like a super wide amount of shooting. I do have the Goblin Wolfrider Archers and an additional one in reserve, but that's kind of it for my DACA. So we're more about Crumpin, less about DACA here, but we're going to see what works out. And if you guys are wondering what DACA is, it's kind of a reference to orcs in the Warhammer universe, mostly in 40k, but it's a sound they make when they shoot their machine gun. So it's like a reference to shooting or rapid fire, things like that. Hellstriders coming in. They do close the distance a little bit. Sloppy micro on my part there, but nonetheless, I should be able to pull them back. And I do call in some Orc War Boys to fight off the Hellstriders. With their armor, they should be able to trade upwards into those guys and do fine. And now the frontline fighting is going to be underway. As it's Crumpin time, boys, the big club's coming down, and there is going to be some Nurgle magic being dropped, so little green magic on the green boys. You gotta love it. Giant, I thought about pushing through to go after Festus, but I did see the Severed Claw nearby, so I was like, all right, we're just going to kind of peel back here. And Grimgore himself is going to be going after Severed Claw, trying to chip away those models. Meanwhile, on the flank, the Swamp Things and the Big Giant should be able to bash down these Marauders pretty easily, but the Aspiring Champions, of course, are going to be the much harder target to actually get down there. Yeah, Giants are really cool. So, yep, the battle rages on in the back. My archer's still shooting away at various troll units, and you do see the Hellstriders with Slanesh coming around to try and flank my archers, but I do have the Orc Boar Boys at the ready, but they have been afflicted by the Miasma and Pestilence, while Subutai does call out the big man. So the Megalith Vortex Beast is going to be coming in to battle the Giant, and it's going to be scary, honestly, and I'm surprised. This is like the one thing, there were some good changes in the recent patch, but this is the one thing that they really dropped the ball on. The Megalith Beast is still just super, super oppressive. I think that thing needed to cost like 2,400 gold, and it's still at 21, and it's just so powerful. I mean, granted, in a head-to-head fight, a Giant might not do bad against it, considering it has the HP advantage and very high weapon strength, but Muty Beasts also kill the infantry nearby because of the Mortis, which is what makes them so crazy. So basically, just getting my Goblin Archers and focus firing down the Muty Beast. We have gotten through its shield. Meanwhile, in the middle, the fighting's doing pretty good. Grimgor is crumping, Gitsnick popped, Harbinger of Pestilence popped on Festus as well. And Festus, I do not believe he doesn't need to be in contact, yeah, because there was kind of a bit of a design thing with CA where they figured a good way to balance Mortis engines was to force them to have to be in combat, but then they just totally switched that up when it came to a lot of the modern Mortis engines. I believe that the Mutalith Beast, let's see if it does. Yeah, he needs to be engaged in melee, but Festus does not. He's able to kind of kite. Granted, he's really slow at 33 speed, so it's not that big of a deal. So Squigs are my second wave of reinforcements. As far as value trading goes, it's even, which is not good for me. If it's even, that means my opponent's probably winning because he has healing and I do not. So that's a little bit scary. And you'll notice Subutai is using the old school playstyle of spamming cheap spells to get the lore passive of Nurgle, which is going to be healing for 0.20 for 4 seconds. Nerfed from 5, so it was stronger before, but those AoE kind of map-wide healing effects did receive a bit of a minor nerf there. So I do see an opportunity here. I see the Muty Beast overextending a little bit, so we call in the Giant River Troll Hag, and she mithers it. So this is going to be slowing him down to 26 speed. She's going to be getting her sack of fish and giving this thing a proper beating here. Spirit Leech is going down, and my Goblin Archers have scooted back and are getting some good fire. So this was big for me. This is the kind of play that I really needed to kind of break the game open. Get that kill on the Mutalith Beast, and then from there, we don't have to worry about the Mortis engine. We can call in some heavy hitters and hopefully be okay. So here in the back, we got Orc Boys coming out. The Wah going down. All the boys going to be fighting extra hard. The Mortis is in the front, very nasty, wearing down my Biggins, but those Biggins are still going strong. Looking at their value, about 400, so not amazing, but here, the Mutalith Beast is going to get Circle Beat and Severed Claw coming in to help out a little bit, but overall, that was a big, big win for us. We were able to drag this thing down and break it. It's still going to Mortis Engine, I believe, even when it's broken. I don't know if it has a condition on it, but yeah, it's still going to be dropping the beats. Another flank coming in from Subutai. He is going to be getting his Hellstriders to try and shut down my Goblin Riders. I did see this coming, and I call out some Wolf Riders, just janky Wolf Riders to throw in there. They will lose the fight, but the Wolf Riders will distract them long enough that my archers can continue their mission, but that was a big one. The Muty Beast is getting buffed by the healing elixirs of Festus, which is a decent heal, but overall, we should be able to get it off the battlefield. The edge is pretty close over here, so at the end of the day, we should be able to chase it down, and the Goblin Riders as well as the Orc Boys have now gotten in combat with these, and we pull a pretty substantial value lead. Now, this is the kind of value lead I'm talking about that you need in order to kind of get the dub here in this situation. So the Wolf Rider is going to be circling on the back, rear charging these, trying to pin them in, and also escorting the Muty Beast off the battlefield. You can see him like force pathing these units to try and make sure it runs, because if it comes back and heals, it's pretty much a GG for me. I wouldn't have many chances at that point, so. Now I'm going to be going for a bit of a gooning on Festus. Call-ins from Chaos are going to be Horsemen. We have a couple Marauders back here. And are we going to be split pushing on the side yet? I know at some point during the game I do end up doing that, but I believe it's going to be a little bit later. But getting the Muty Beast down there was quite good. Orc Boys hustling up to the point, and now we're hunting down Festus. So Grimgor, the Giant, and the Hag are all trying to get this bad man down. We got the Meat Sack, we got Grimgor getting clubbed by his own Giant. Classic Greenskin tactics, but hopefully we can get him down here. You know, the Spirit Leech, and he doesn't seem to have been hit too much. People often underestimate the fact that Festus does have 50 melee defense, so he's actually surprisingly hard to hit. However, a character like Grimgor, who's a melee expert and does have 70 melee attack, should connect with him pretty consistently and is faster than him. So there we use Mither, and your boy is going to be getting bashed by Grimgor, as well as his girlfriend here, the Giant River Troll Hag. Now back on the other side, my Swamp Things finally do break, but not before probably doing some okay work. Yeah, about 700-800 debuffs as well. Giants, unfortunately, probably do have the Severed Claw nearby. Yeah, the Severed Claw are going to be excellent against those. Orc Boys have arrived up to the objective, so they're going to be coming up, and they're going to be doing some crumping. And old Grimgor and the Giant River Troll Hag trying to chase down Festus. He's healing, he's living, and if I can get him down, that will probably end the game. But if he manages to kind of squeak away and live, you know, then he's still going to be providing map-wide heals. His healing elixirs can bring him back, and he's not anywhere near his healing cap, so, you know, that's probably how that's going to go down. So the Hag and Giant on the hunt. Festus is going to be getting some support from the Armored Chaos Trolls. Good play from Subutai, bringing in some mass to try and keep my Giants from keeping up, and it does end up working, but the Giant River Troll Hag does manage to get by. Still hunting here. Swamp Things have rallied on the edge of the map, and for call-ins here, we're going to be getting Crimson Killas. So we call in some big guns. Crimson Killas are actually really good in this matchup if you can avoid the Mortis engines, right? because they'll be able to beat down pretty much any Chaos Infantry with great efficiency, and they got a bonus for Infantry, good combat stats, and did also get cost reduced in the most recent patch. So that's going to make them, I think, more of a viable pick here as they move forward, try and chase down the Forsaken, but my opponent here does realize they're there and pulls back the Forsaken, leaving Marauders and Chaos Trolls, both of which will trade adequately well into those. So that was a really, really good positional play from him. Unfortunately for me, Old Festus did get away. I wasn't quite able to catch him. I drop another Spirit Leech on that man, but he's still healing with his own auras as well as the Lore of Nurgle passive. Giants and company getting worn down. You can see the Miasma Pestilence is down on the big Giants, and their HP is diminishing pretty quickly. Grimgor is also getting a little bit beat up. He hasn't gotten as much value as I would have liked. I kind of expected him to do better. He's gotten just over 1,000, which isn't terrible, but overall, oh, and the throw up. We see the giant River Troll Hag throwing up on Festus. If anything, that would probably heal him, considering he's a champion of Nurgle, but to each their own. She's getting in with her meat sack again, her fish sack. The evil lunch lady is here, and Festus is going to be getting hunted and chased down. Mither active once again, and doing my best to really, really rout him off, and it's been hard. We've broken him several times. I believe this is going to be the second time. So Crimson Killis, as well as the Squig Herds, able to win the fight against the Trolls in the back, and now we're going to be hustling towards the middle and pushing relatively hard towards Objective 3. So at this point, I felt I was pretty far behind in points, and I needed to get a little bit crunk and push the objective, so we do get the Goblins as well as Wolf Riders coming out, and we're going to be heading towards Objective 3 and trying to grab that. In the meantime, Grimgor and his Giants hanging in there. One Giant does get broken at 180 HP. The other Giant, I believe, has fallen and or routed at this point, so most of our heavy hitters are gone. You know, my opponent's Mutalith Beast. Big problem that Festus lived, though, because he's going to be able to heal to half now, and I couldn't quite get him because the Chaos Trolls were able to screen with some mass. So that was a really, really big bummer. Orc Boys fighting hard on the point, and they do have good armor piercing. These are the generic variant of the Orc Boy Cav. They're very cheap and honestly pretty cost effective. I think spamming out a couple of them, even more, would have been, you know, better for sure. But yeah, they're able to bash in there, doing some okay damage, and another unit of Orc Boy Biggins that's going to be on its way in, and now Crimson Killers. So this is my opportunity to try and get this objective. The Crimson Killers should be able to mulch through most of these units. Grimgor working on the Armored Chaos Trolls, but they are also working on him. Those Armored Chaos Trolls do hit hard. I believe they have 100 weapon strength apiece, so, you know, a couple of these trolls is like the equivalent of Grimgor in terms of, like, how hard they hit, but we're going to see. He does chop down one troll right there and is going to continue on the job. On this side, we do have Goblin Wolf Riders perching in the bushes, and we get some Orc Boys as well as Goblins up on the point. And we're trying to wrestle that one because we need to get back in this. Currently 13,000 against 10, but the game is much closer than you would think because of the Nurgle passive healing we've seen the entire game, and the fact that Festus is back and I didn't get the leadership penalty on the Warriors of Chaos here feels pretty bad. So my poor hag getting chased down here. Orc Boy Biggins are going to be trying to save her. We'll see if they're going to be able to. And a couple Orc Boy Biggins do come around the side, launch in there, and do get a nice rear charge on those trolls. So the trolls getting pounded pretty good. Old Grimgor, yeah, he's been all right. He's been a nice little anchor. Like, I feel like he could still use some buffs. You know, like, yeah, really for foot characters to be super impactful, like, healing is such a big prerequisite, but giving him healing wouldn't make too much sense. I mean, you could give him, like, something like stubbornness, or, I don't know, like, some ability that, like, he heals by being, like, the best and the strongest. I don't know how they would do that. But, yeah, foot characters, who's a good foot character? I mean, Sigvald is, you know, obviously the golden standard in terms of foot characters. Over on this side, we do start to flip this objective. Wolf Riders and Squigs have piled in. Squigs should be pretty good against these Forsaken, but unfortunately these Hellstriders, the Marks of Chaos were used for them. They're still one of the best choices for sure. Getting fast mobile units that can respond to crisis situations is huge. And here in the forest, we have Goblin Wolf Riders duking it out here with the Hellstriders. Hellstriders obviously dominating that fight, no surprises. And here we're trying to get a little bit of a sandwich. So the Goblin Wolf Riders looking to engage the Hellstriders. Squigs are also on their way in. And yeah, this fight on this objective is pretty big. You can see we're kind of close to capturing multiple points, but Grimgor getting kind of close to death here. He's at 1,500 HP. And the Crimson Killers have gotten up. How are they looking? Yeah, they're doing okay in the back. They're butchering through these Forsaken. No surprises here. Crimson Killers up to 99 kills and going to be approaching 1,200 value here. So you can see Grimgor is chosen here. The Crimson Killers have been great. Pretty much just dominating every infantry unit they can find. And I believe they have some sort of like a splash attack profile. I'd have to look. There's a website where you can look at all that data. But Grimgor unfortunately breaks, which is certainly a shame. His Crimson Killers are looking like, come on, boss, what are you doing, man? We still have a good chance to get this objective if you keep fighting. He's at 1,400, but he does get surrounded. And that probably is going to be it for old Grimgor. And Festus came back, right? So now AoE heals are going down, debuffs on my Crimson Killers. Like, all of that feels really, really bad. In the meantime, over here, Squigs trying to duke it out. More Squigs moving up, battling the Hellstriders. Goblin Riders actually fought pretty well in the woods, all things considered. Considering the unit they fought was twice as much as them in terms of cost, I would say that was a bit of a win. But we're trying to wrestle this one, but the Chaos do have the home field advantage, so they're able to call in infantry support really quickly, whereas I have pretty much lost the middle here. It's going to be the Crimson Killers battling it out, but Grimgor at the end of the day didn't get it done. He got broken down, he got chased down by trolls, and I was a little bit disappointed with him. I mean, he only cost about 1900, so he basically paid for himself and was a bit of a presence, but I can't help but think that Wurrzag would have been a little bit stronger here. So from this point, there's not really too many chances. Crimson Kill is going to get swarmed, and I just kind of trickle in units. Festus is back too, so that's how I really knew the game was over, because his Mortis Engine effect is going to be able to kind of drain these bad boys down. And over on this objective, Chaos actually starts to push us back because we overextended. Now, I have two schools of thought here. Maybe instead of trying to split push him here, we should have put everything onto objective 2 to support Grimcore more and allow him to have more support, more bodies, and we maybe would have been able to win that and still had time to push through objective 3. But on that same coin, you know, he could have then Helm's Deep here, and it might have been very dicey to try and take that from him on his home turf. I don't know what the right decision was. Both, I think, had some viable kind of arguments. But the build worked good, and I was really happy. I mean, Subutai is a top leaderboard player, and this Greenskin build, which was kind of a, you know, using some of the cost-reduced units, like the Orc Biggins, not using Wurrzag, it seemed completely viable and completely winnable. Like, that game felt like it could have gone either way. Like, for example, if the RNG of, like, melee defense versus melee attack, we had gotten one more hit on Festus, he would have died, and we would have won the game. So it's like, little things like that can, you know, come into play when you're evaluating. But I like the army, honestly. I like the Black Orcs. I was kind of like, maybe I should have got more Black Orcs. But the problem would be the Festus, yeah, and the Mutalith Beast. The thing I also talked about with Subutai after the game is he did blunder his Mutalith Beast. He sent it into my backfield and just let me kill it easily. Whereas with cleaner micro and cleaner control, that might not have happened. Then I would have just maybe lost the game there, right? So I think, like, the Giants weren't bad. 1400, 1800. Maybe you cut the Trolls and get more Archer units. I think maybe, like, Orc Error Boys, get like 4 of them, and then just get a couple Orc Boys as well to support you. I think, yeah, I think it was a little bit too narrow, and just to hedge your bets, I think bringing some Error Boys is good. I would probably cut the hero combo. Let's actually go to the drawing board. So I'll see you guys in the army selection screen in just a second. All right, so here we are. So what I would do against Chaos in the future, I think I would probably go with Wurrzag. Wurrzag's pretty sweet. Just get him to Spirit Leech. I think Buna probably isn't very good there. I brought it that game, but ultimately it didn't feel that great. So for items, I'd probably just bring Slag as Slashes, so at least he can fly over if he's not going to be landing. Although Buna against Horsemen isn't bad. Like, if they're just spamming a Horseman to deal with your big stuff, you can just Buna them down one at a time and maybe kill those. So I did like the Double Giant. I felt like that was reasonably good. From here, probably some Orc Boys would be nice, and then we can mix in some Error Boys and one more, let's see, Orc Boar Boy Biggin. This seems like it could be a nice opening, because, like, if they try and dive your backfield, you have the Orc Boar Boy Biggins to kind of deal with any threat getting back into your archers. You have a little bit of DACA, and from here, we can call in... let's see. How do we want to approach this? Obviously, every Greenskin army should still be maxed out on Squigs. They're really, really good. Stone Trolls might not be terrible here, but Severed Claw's tough. I kind of wanted to try the Black Orcs, right? Like, the Black Orcs seems like that could be kind of a viable thing. Also, another, like, cheeky strategy to deal with Festus is what you could do is you could go for... this is a weird one, but this might work. So you get her up here, and you do this. You bring the Power Stone, and you cut all the abilities here. Life Leeching is okay, because it gives you reserves when you cast spells. And you just bring her for Spirit Leech, right? So you would have double Spirit Leech spam. Yeah, that looks good to me. And then do we have chevrons? Yeah, we can just, like, cut these chevrons. Yeah, could get the Rusty Arrows too and throw them in there. Yeah, we have 600 here, so now you have double Spirit Leech, so you can cheese Festus out. Like, he would be suffering pretty bad. Depends on the Winds of Magic situation, but overall you should be able to cheese him. And once Festus is gone, you call in Black Orcs, and Black Orcs will trade pretty well. And I do like Crimson Killas. I thought those were pretty cool. Definitely want to mix in a couple more Orc Error Boys to call those out in the beginning. I love the Skirmishers, but I think getting the Armor Piercing one probably would be a little bit stronger. Let's get you. And do we have any need for Nasty Skulkers here? Because Warriors of Chaos themselves aren't super common, so I don't think so. I do like the cheap Orc Cav. I thought they were great. And we do need at least one Orc Boar Boy Biggin, like the anti-large one. So, how can we afford that? Maybe just 2 Black Orcs is going to be enough. Then we can do... the ROR, yeah, these guys are pretty great. The little Unbreakable Goblins. From here, do we need any of their Orc Boys? And yeah, 1 Wolf Rider. This seems like a pretty cool build to, like, counter the Festus tech. The double Spirit Leech will probably kill him, and Wurrzag can also snipe him very easily. Like, the second he's left on his own, Wurrzag can fly down and goon him. And you'll have the double Giants, which are still going to be strong, I think. And yeah, I mean, there's so many cool playstyles to explore with Greenskins, but people just didn't because the cheese was so strong with JC.